Senate is about Nigeria and Nigerians.
It's something that we have to look at holistically.
Senate plans to hold another security summit as the Red Chamber seeks lasting solution to the nation's security crisis.
Nigeria will heal the talk to the mind of Nigeria.
And bill seeking return to old national anthem skills second reading at the Senate. Welcome to another episode of Inside the Senate, a program dedicated to keeping you updated on proceedings from the Senate Chamber of the National Assembly. I am your host, Hadiza Bayero Aliu. On this episode of Inside the Senate, we have reports of bills and motions considered on the floor of the Senate last week. Among them is a bill seeking to make provision for Nigeria to revert to its old national anthem. There was also a motion urging the Senate to convene a national summit as part of plans to find a permanent solution to the insecurity bedeviling the nation. These and other stories coming your way after the break. Please stay tuned.
Promote the unity, happiness, and prosperity of Nigeria.
The Defense Industries Corporation of Nigeria Act, Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2023.
And this act should be supported by all.
There are issues that we must use this opportunity to critically address.
We accord this motion the urgency and the necessity it requires.
I rise the second motion.
The ayes have it.
Thanks for staying tuned. A bill seeking to make provision for Nigeria to revert to its old national anthem has scaled second reading at the Senate. The Senate on Thursday, 23rd May 2024, adjusted its rules to accommodate the first and second reading of the bill. The old national anthem, Nigeria, We Hail Thee, was adopted as Nigeria's first national anthem on October 1st, 1960. The anthem's lyrics were written by Lillian Jane Williams, a British expatriate who lived in Nigeria when it attained independence. Francis Bader composed the music for the anthem, and it was used in Nigeria from independence in 1960 until 1978, when the current anthem, Arise, O Compatriots, was adopted in 1978. In his lead debate, sponsor of the bill, Senate leader Bamidele Michael Okoyemi, said the old anthem upon rendition inspired and stimulated a deep sense of patriotism in Nigerians.
The concept, phraseology, and the ideological connotation of this anthem conveyed and epitomized the significant historic heritage of our dear country, Nigeria.
We are bounded by the fact that
senators in their various contributions embraced the idea, saying that the old version will encourage Nigerians to be patriotic.
The new one is saying, Arise, O compatriots. What about non-compatriots? Can't we convert them to become compatriots? And that's why I said this language is elusive and it's not good for any reason. The Nigeria We Hail Thee talk to the mind of Nigeria, talk to our taxonomy, that we are hailing this country, that this country belongs to us, that we hold this country in faith.
National anthem is supposed to be motivational. The words contained in the old national anthem are motivational, quite motivational. Apart from putting to bear our history, our composition as a people, it emphasized brotherhood above all things. Whether you are from any part of Nigeria, no matter the tongue you speak, you should be able to see the next person that is a Nigerian as your brother.
What they require at this
Some
time,
senators also urged the Senate to consider public hearings on the issue before final passage.
And this bill, when passed into second reading, it is going to be subjected to public hearing whereby all Nigerians will come and ventilate their opinion as to the pros and cons of the bill.
while I may not have been there when this anthem was changed, I'm a student of history and I know that it was done during the military era. I'm not sure how much consultation was done during the process, but I think this is an opportunity for us to have a wider and broader consultation with to the general public and the people who we represent, if this is indeed what they require at this time, and if the wordings of the previous anthem resonates more with their beliefs, their emotions, and their understanding of Nigeria today.
After the contributions, the bill was referred to the Senate Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights and Legal Matters to carry out further legislative work and report back in 1 month. President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, who presided over plenary, asked the panel to submit its report as soon as possible. Let's join our studio for more highlights from last week's plenary proceedings.
That the bill was read for the first time in this chamber.
On Tuesday, 21st of May 2024, Senator Issa Jibrin, representing Kogi East, raised the motion on the matter of urgent public importance, wherein he drew the attention of the Senate to the urgent need for the rehabilitation of Agojeju-Odo, Ajokpachi-Odo, Bagaji and Bagana communities in Omala local government area of Kogi State, affected by gunmen attacks and killings.
5th April 2024, armed headers invaded the Agojeju-Odo, Ajokpachi-Odo, Bagaji and Bagana communities, killing 21 innocent citizens, including women and children, in addition to unprecedented destruction of their farm produce.
Other lawmakers contributed to the motion.
This has been on for several years. I think our purpose, Mr. President, is no longer to take this thing on ad hoc basis. When they occur, we cry, we do 1 minute silence, they ask for relief. No relief for a man who is dead. What manner of release are you giving to a man who is gruesomely murdered?
Everybody remembers the good thinking of Senator Jibril Aminu when he brought nomadic education, with the hope of changing and reorientating their mindset towards this problem we are having some 25-30 years back. Unfortunately, the Senate President, if you look at the quantum of money that was taken for this project with very little to show for it, it will amaze you that this country is not lacking in giving money. What we are lacking is the money be put to good use.
My question is, how do we put a stop to this? Tomorrow, another person will bring a similar motion. So it's something that we have to look at holistically.
Prayers for the motion were for the Senate to observe a minute silence for the departed souls in Omala local government area of Kogi State and all other parts of the state affected by the crisis. Urge the Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development and the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, to assist the affected communities in Omala local government area of Kogi State and all other parts of the state also affected with relief materials and other forms of support necessary for their rehabilitation. And urge the Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development and NEMA to provide minimal seed capitals for the women and youths in the community to facilitate their various economic activities. Additional prayer was for the Senate to constitute an ad hoc committee to work out modalities to find a holistic solution to the problem of farmers-herders clashes and killings all over the country, including convening a national summit involving academic, research institutions and all stakeholders, including farmers, herders, community leaders, traditional rulers, with a view to finding the remote causes and sustainable solutions to the crisis across the nation.
Additional prayer is carried.
The motion was voted on and adopted, after which a minute of silence was observed in honor of the victims.
And all farmers' clashes rest in perfect peace. Amen.
Another committee on modalities to find a holistic solution to the problem of farmers, herders clashes and killings all over the country was also constituted. The committee is to be chaired by Senator Sahabiya Alhaji, while members of the committee include Senator Peter Jia, Senator Patrick Ndubeze, Senator Kabib Mustafa, Senator Kakashe Hulawan, Senator Olalere Oyewumi, Senator Friday Benson.
To introduce the Northeast
On Wednesday,
Development
22nd May 2024, Senator Manu Haruna, representing Taraba Central, moved a motion on the urgent need to address the vandalization of TCN transmission lines in the northeast region of Nigeria. According to him, recent incidents of vandalism along the Jos-Gombe 330 kV transmission line have resulted in severe disruptions to power supply, affecting millions of residents, hospitals, commercial activities, communication networks, public safety, and the overall well-being of the people in Plateau, Gombe, Adamawa, Taraba, Bauchi, Yobe, and Borno states.
The frequent vandalization of transmission lines, especially the disruption of TCN towers, not only disrupt the electricity supply in the affected states, but also compromises essential services such as healthcare and education. It also exacerbates insecurity issues and imposes a heavy financial burden on public resources for the repair and replacement of infrastructural damages.
Other lawmakers contributed to the motion.
Power, energy, helps in development of industries and, in fact, livelihood generally. We don't have in our areas, and the little that we had was taken away. Mr. President, the northeastern part of Nigeria is one part of Nigeria where we were promised Mambila hydroelectricity power. Since late 70s, to date, not 1 kilometer of road has been constructed to usher in the construction of that dam.
I have experience where some people wanted to sell transformer to me. At the end of the day, we discovered these were stolen items from the then NEPA. So because nobody will just stand up and go and climb the pole wire to harvest or to remove 33 kVA cables like that without having knowledge of how the system works.
Accordingly, the Senate resolved to urge the federal government through the Federal Ministry of Power to, as a matter of urgency, allocate funds to the Transmission Company of Nigeria TCN to address the faults along the Jos-Gombe, Gombe to Maiduguri, Gombe to Damaturu 330 kV transmission line and restore power supply to affected areas, especially on all affected towers. Urged the federal government of Nigeria, in line with the renewed hope agenda of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, to expedite the construction of the Makurdi-Jalingo 330 kV transmission line in alignment with the Transmission Rehabilitation and Expansion Program (TREP) and the Presidential Power Initiative (PPI) to connect the Northeast region to the Southeast Transmission Network, and also urged the Federal Ministry of Power to implement the recommendations outlined in Section 209, 210, 211, 212, and 213 of the Electricity Act 2023 to enhance the security of transmission infrastructure. Also, to collaborate with security agencies and local vigilantes in host communities of TCN transmission lines to deter and prevent acts of vandalism. An additional prayer to urge the federal government to make provision for a special intervention fund for maintenance of all transmission lines and establishment of new ones to distribute power generated to the affected communities was introduced and approved. The motion was voted on and adopted as amended.
Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
National Anti-Doping Bill 2024, sponsored by Senator Bamidele Michael Okpeyemi, Federal Capital Territory Supplementary Appropriation Bill 2024, sponsored by Senator Bamidele Michael Okpeyemi. Federal University Wukari Establishment Bill 2024, sponsored by Senator David Jumkuta. Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 Alteration Bill 2024, sponsored by Senator Kabib Mustafa.
That we do approve.
One of the high points of plenary last week was the presentation of the 10th Senate magazine by the Senate Committee Chairman on Media and Public Affairs, Senator Yemi Adaramodu. Senator Adaramodu, who is also the editor-in-chief of the magazine, noted that the magazine will bridge the gap between the Senate and the people it serves.
Yes, if you don't tell your story will be told by somebody else. And the story can be skewed. And we know that the National Assembly, the Senate, is already being driven to a frozen metaphor for ludicrous, insidious, and invidious stupidity, whereby the narratives out there negate what the Senate stands for.
The chairman appreciated the Senate President Godswill Akpabio, who is the publisher of the magazine, and other distinguished senators for contributing to the birth of the 10th Senate magazine.
That was a report of plenary proceedings from last week as presented from our studio. Let's take a break here to open our Senate notebook. Don't go away.
Standing orders are the permanent rules governing the procedures and operations of the Senate. They cover a wide range of aspects, including the conduct of debates, voting procedures, committee functions, and the general order of business. These orders ensure consistency, fairness, and orderliness in the Senate proceedings. They can be amended or suspended by the Senate, typically requiring a majority vote. Standing orders address issues such as quorum requirements, the speaking time limits for senators, the handling of bills and motions, and the establishment and operations of committees. By setting these rules, the standing orders help maintain a structured and efficient legislative process.
You're still watching Inside the Senate, bringing you highlights from proceedings of the Red Chamber of the National Assembly and its members. On Monday, 20th May 2024, the Senate Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights and Legal Matters held a one-day public hearing on a bill for an act to prescribe the salaries, allowance and fringe benefits of judicial office holders in Nigeria and related matters 2024. This is sequel to its successful second reading in March 2024.
Your Chief Judge and my President.
The event, which took place at the National Assembly complex, had in attendance Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice Lateef Fagbemi, Minister of Finance Wole Edun, President of the Nigerian Bar Association Yakubu Mekel, among others. Chairman of the committee, Senator Tahir Mohammed Mungono, spoke on the bill.
This bill as it is before us now doesn't take care of the pensions and gratuities of judicial officers when they retire. And laws are supposed to be organic documents that change with the changing nature of society. So we should always make our laws to bring it in replica with the existing and changing times of society.
The National Judicial Council has recommended a 300% raise in the salary of judicial officers, a position supported by the Ministers of Justice and Finance. According to them, an upgrade of remuneration of judicial officers will salvage the sector.
The present day but sad reality is that the judiciary has stagnated on the same salary scale for over 16 years. This is totally unacceptable and is quite antithetical to any meaningful judicial reform. I strongly recommend this bill for your kind consideration and to urge the Senate to support and ensure the passage of this bill in the national interest of promoting the rule of law.
I'm very, very pleased to have been part of this opening ceremony, listen to the Attorney General, and I cannot but follow him
He is the authority in government on the law. I cannot but follow him in commending this bill and requesting its swift passage to the benefit of the judiciary in particular and Nigerians in general.
Other stakeholders expressed the belief that the bill is a legal framework that can significantly foster the rule of law, functionality, and independence of the judiciary.
In general terms, the proposed bill seeks to consolidate legislative provisions relating to judicial salaries and entitlements into a single piece of legislation. It supports judicial independence by creating a modern statutory framework for determining the salary, allowances, and conditions of service for judicial officers. It is by all standards a very progressive legal framework.
We are almost closing down some of our courts for want of resources to manage. Some offices, I understand, alternate the coming to the office of their staff. We in the judiciary cannot dare to do that because people will be crying, justice delayed is justice denied. And so we are indeed suffering. Our supporting staff are equally suffering. And therefore, I thank the 10th Senate for its commitment, and we appreciate our very progressive looking Attorney General and Minister of Justice, who knows and feels the pulse of the judiciary.
We thank you for coming, distinguished ladies and gentlemen.
The committee is expected to report back to the upper chamber with its findings and recommendations for eventual passage of the bill. Our profile segment is next. Stand by for our Senator of the Week.
Senator Issa Jibrin Echocho is the current senator representing Kogi East Senatorial District in the 10th Senate. He was born on the 28th day of February 1960. Senator Jibrin attended Our Lady of Schools, Ajiolo Ojaji from 1967 to 1972 and 1973 to 1977 for his primary and secondary educations respectively. He also got a Bachelor of Science degree in Economics at the Bayero University, Kano in 1983. In 1991, Senator Jibrin got a master's degree in economics from the University of Lagos. He got another master's degree in petroleum and energy at the University of Ibadan in 2002. In 2003, he obtained a master's degree in business administration from the University of Nigeria, Nsukka. In 1988, Senator Issa Jibrin Echocho joined Chase Merchant Bank PLC as an analyst. He then moved to AfriBank International Limited Merchant Bankers in 1991 as the head of Project Finance Leasing Department. He was made the head of Capital Market Group in 1993. In 1998, he served as the Managing Director, Chief Executive of AL Securities Limited. In 2011 and 2015, Senator Jibrin contested for the governor of Kogi State under the platform of the People's Democratic Party (PDP), but lost the election. In 2019 general elections, he was elected as the senator representing Kogi East Senatorial District after a supplementary election. In 2023, Senator Issa Jibrin Echocho was re-elected into the same position. He currently serves as the chairman, Senate Committee on Ways and Means. His legislative agenda includes health, women and youth empowerment, education, and community development.
On that note, we come to the end of this episode of Inside the Senate. If you missed this episode of the program, you can connect with us via our social media platforms showing on your screen to watch these and other episodes. Join us again next week for a fresh edition of the program. Enjoy the rest of your day.